So you wanna know if this season of Diablo 4 has improved the game enough to be worth your time? Well, I've been playing the season since it came out, and I am now around level 45, just getting into tier 3 world and getting into the point where the big grind starts with all the Paragon boards and stuff. After doing all the content up to this point, here are my opinions on the game as of Season of the Construct.
These are strange times indeed. So many fear the inexplicable. I deal in it. And you seek answers.
If you just want a quick answer, should you come back or not, here it is. If your problem with the game was things like lack of build diversity from too few skills, too slow of a gameplay, disliking the itemization, or any of the other fundamental systems that came out with the game, it will not be worth your time, as none of these have been changed in a meaningful way. So that's your answer. Thank you for stopping by, like and subscribe, and I'll see you later. For those of you that want a bit more nuance and detail in the conversation, let's talk about it, starting with leveling. Also, be aware that from this point onwards, I'll be talking about the story for the season, so be aware of spoilers, though, to be honest, the story is not really that deep. So as previous seasons, you start in one of the major hubs spread around Sanctuary. You'll have a seasonal quest that sees you go through a new story plot, this time helping a new NPC named Ayuzan, who was a partner of Zoltan Kull and at some point was possessed by an evil demon named Malphas. You free him of this possession, and the rest of the story is about finding, binding and killing this demon. This involves doing about 3 or 4 dungeons and some out in the world events, and culminates in what is actually a really interesting and engaging fight, where the boss cycles through different elements during the fight, in my opinion a very interesting final boss. Unfortunately, the whole questline for me finished at level 25, and after that was just back to the same old dungeon or world event or stronghold grind to level 50. So if you are looking for something new in the way of leveling and progressing up to those nightmare dungeons, I'm afraid we didn't get any this season. As I explained, the story is all about following the plan of Ayuzan to find and kill this demon that has infected something called the Loom. This is something that him and Zoltan Kull worked on, and after finding out that you can't exorcise the demon from it, you end up destroying the Loom along with the demon. Unfortunately, this story plays out for about 2 to 3 hours of gameplay. How is anyone supposed to care about what's happening when in 2 or 3 hours you show up, you ruin this demon's plan, this great demon that has been causing a lot of trouble, you go in, you destroy it, you destroy everything that the demon has worked towards, and in the end you leave, and this happens in a span of at most 3 hours of gameplay. How can I get invested into this story when it happens in 3 hours? I don't know what the Loom is. I don't have any relation with Ayuzan because I just met the guy. I don't know nothing about him. I would really love if they added a story along more spread out points through the season, or maybe even like at a weekly pace where they have more time to develop the story, instead of just front-loading it like this. Front-loading the story in this manner, to me, makes me feel like you don't believe in your product and its ability to retain players until a later point into the game, which is very sad because it really takes away from any story that they could potentially sell us at any point, in my opinion. Very, very sad to see. The gameplay to me has always been the strongest point of Diablo 4. I like the pacing of the combat, I like that it's a bit more slow and a bit more measured than something like Torchlight or Path of Exile. I like that resources matter, I like that I need to think about mana as a Sorc, you need to think about how to generate your fury as a barb. I enjoy that, and I enjoy the progress for the most part, though I think the early leveling, like the first 20 or so levels, should really be sped up, because I feel like that's the weakest point of the game. All of that is still present, and I have absolutely no complaints in that sense, and I think the gameplay overall is really good, so great job there. Where I do think there was a missed opportunity, however, is the new vault mechanic, which are essentially how you get to upgrade your new pet from the season. These are pretty much just dungeons, but now they have a bunch of traps that add nothing but frustration to the game, in my opinion. If you played Path of Exile, you know exactly what I mean. These don't add gameplay, it just either makes you slow or they make you frustrated. Let me explain. The way these work is, at some point midway through the dungeon, you'll get to interact with a statue, where you get to sacrifice a new currency and receive a number of points that are gonna appear in your screen. Each time you get hit by a trap, it will detract 1 point from your stacks, and when you get to the end of the map, or in the dungeon, you can spend these points to open additional chests. This taking away of rewards when you get hit by the traps is incredibly frustrating and makes it 10 times worse than just a regular trap. You are already getting punished by taking damage and potentially having to heal, or if you get hit a lot, you just die. But now you're also getting reduced rewards on top of it. In my opinion, if you're gonna keep this mechanic in the game, you'd rather than take points away from the player, you should start the player at 0 points and give them 1 point when they manage to go through a gauntlet of traps without getting hit. Reward the player for their success rather than taking away when they make a mistake is a much better approach to any game design, in my opinion. So the new league mechanic is your new pet that is known as the Seneschal. After seeing the skills and abilities that it has, I think it's an interesting addition to the game, and I think it works fine as a league mechanic to give everyone this pet that they can customize and adapt to whatever build they are playing. You can give it 2 different abilities from the selection, and each of these abilities can have up to 3 supports that add stuff like giving you resources. If you're like a Sork, you'll get mana, or applying dodge to the enemy. Some of the legendary ones do things like vortex the enemies to the pet, or teleport the pet to the enemy if he's out of range. There is also a unique one that only comes from the final boss of the season that increases the level of your spells by 4 for 2 seconds, so you can do some fancy stuff with snapshotting with it. Overall, it doesn't seem something crazy or game-changing, but I like it even though I feel like they could add a little bit more complexity and nuance to it. Keep in mind, I also haven't been able to get most of the powers, so there might be something out there that will end up being absolutely broken and meta-defining once people figure it out, so keep that in mind. Some additions to quality of life stuff were added this league, the main one being WASD movement. I tried it for a little bit and honestly I enjoyed it. It allowed for you to have a little bit more of a precise movement. However, there's still a bit of work to be done where sometimes trying to interact with objects doesn't really work correctly, but that will get ironed out with time. So overall, I think is a very good option added to the game, and I think more customization and more options to the players are always a good addition to any game, so props for that. Overall, so far, my opinion of Diablo Season of Construct is pretty average. In my opinion, the most important part of the game, its gameplay, is solid, and it lays the foundation for a great game that unfortunately, in my opinion, the surrounding systems are not great. And if these could be improved, then I think the game overall would be much better. However, as of right now, the game is very much there for the people that already played the game before and enjoyed it for what it was. If you are someone that didn't enjoy it, then sadly this season isn't going to change that for you, I don't think. And for that reason, I can't unfortunately recommend it for you. If you are enjoying the game in seasons before, that's great, I love to hear that. Otherwise, maybe come back a bit later, check on it again, and see how it is doing then. But yeah, guys, that's very much all I have to say for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye bye.